Hello guys, how are we all doing? Welcome back to Premier League predictions. Yes, that's right, we've got 10 Premier League games coming up in midweek, Sophie. It's good to have the Premier League back in full action.
It is. I have missed it actually.
Yeah, we've had the FA Cup and we've had the winter break. It's all been a bit confusing, but we are back for Premier League predictions now and the schedule is busy this week. Before we get into it, Sophie, please set us a like target.
Oh, I'm going to go big. 2,000 likes.
2,000?
Yeah.
Okay, it's going to be difficult, but if everyone makes sure they've hit the thumbs up button, we can do it. Hitting the like button really helps this video grow. So come on, let's go for 2,000 likes, seeing as the Premier League is back. And the final thing is, make sure to subscribe. It's free to subscribe and you'll see all of our videos when they go out. And as I say, there's lots to come this week with so much football going on. Quickly then, Sophie, the scores on the doors from last time when there was just the 5 Premier League games 2 weeks ago. It finished 3-3. Which means you've still got a 5-point lead.
Okay, healthy.
I need to get some predictions right and catch up with you. Let's get straight into them, Sophie, kicking things off at the City Ground where Nottingham Forest take on Arsenal. I'm really excited for this one. I think what it is Nottingham Forest do have Arsenal's number when they're at the City Ground. Arsenal have lost their last 3 visits to Nottingham Forest.
Wow, I didn't realise it was 3.
3 out of 3. One of them being in the Premier League last season, which is the game which Nottingham Forest won to keep them in the division, and it did hand the Premier League title to Man City instead of Arsenal, who were obviously in the title race. And Forest have beaten Arsenal at home in a couple of FA Cup games over the last couple of years. As for this one, Sophie, they did play on the opening day at the Emirates. Arsenal won 2-1. A lot's changed since then. Arsenal have been in the title race. Their form dipped a little bit, but they went back to winning ways in their last game, 5-0 against Palace. They've had a break because they weren't in the FA Cup action over the weekend. Forest, obviously, they brought in Nuno over a month ago now, and the results have been pretty good. They are going to another FA Cup replay after Friday's 0-0 draw with Bristol City. As for this one, Sophie, I think on paper, obviously, Arsenal are the higher team in the table. They've got a lot more resources. I just wonder if we might be able to see Forest win at home again against Arsenal. I don't know how, but I think they might actually do it, you know. I was tempted to go for a draw, but the history speaks volumes, and I'm actually going to do it. Nottingham Forest 1-0. I'm backing Forest to win this. I know they're missing a couple of key players, but if they keep things tight at the back, they might be able to pinch this. And Arsenal's form, not been totally convincing over the last month.
No, it's not been bad though. So really they are still the favourites going into this. I am tempted to lean towards them, but I feel like I might just have to go down the middle on this one. I feel like there could be a few goals, so I'm going to say a Desmond. I'm going to kick it off with a 2-2.
Yeah, I like that. That'd be a great game, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
Nottingham Forest v Arsenal, guys. Share your predictions on that one. It is a big game at the City Ground. Next up, we go to Tuesday's other fixture, Sophie, where we see Fulham take on Everton. And for me, this is a difficult one to predict. They did both lose in the FA Cup over the weekend. I thought Fulham actually played fairly well against Newcastle. They just didn't take their chances and then were made to pay when Newcastle just managed to get the ball in the back of the net at the other end. Against Everton, I feel like Fulham will have a lot of the ball. I feel like they will create some chances, but Everton are a team that are pretty stubborn and will try and keep the ball out the back of the net, albeit they lost 2-1 to Luton in the dying seconds at the weekend in the FA Cup. And Everton still need some results here, Sophie, because they are still just above Luton in the Premier League relegation dogfight. I think this will be close. I wouldn't be surprised if it finishes 0-0 or 1-1, but I reckon Fulham might just edge this, you know. I'm going to go Fulham 1-0.
Yeah, I actually agree. I feel like, well, I don't agree with your scoreline, but I agree with what you've said, as in it could be a low scoring one. I feel like it could either be nicked by Fulham or end 0-0. I'm going to go with a 0-0. I just feel like Sean Dyche manages to grind out a point. They need the points. A point, I guess that would suit Everton. They do need the 3, obviously, but Fulham are a good team. And to get a point against them wouldn't be a bad result. So, yeah, I could see a 0-0 playing out.
Go for a goalless draw. Yeah, I think what it is with Everton is they just need to grind out what they can.
Yeah,
just
exactly.
to get away from trouble. Results over performances sometimes.
Yeah.
On to the next one, Sophie. Let's go to Kenilworth Road, where Luton Town take on Brighton. Now, I remember this game on the opening weekend when Brighton smashed Luton 4-1. And a lot of people's feelings at the time were Luton look a little bit out of their depth here. But I think it was a baptism of fire.
Yeah,
I think it was always going to be difficult going away to Brighton for your first game, and Luton Town needed to acclimatise, and I think they have done. And I think they could take a lot of confidence from that result in the FA Cup last week. That said, Brighton got a fantastic result in the FA Cup at the weekend, winning 5-2 at Sheffield United, Sophie.
Yeah.
What an incredible result that is. I don't think there'll be a lot to separate the two. I don't think it'll be anything like that opening day game when Brighton battered Luton and Luton kept making schoolboy errors. I think Luton could actually pinch this, Sophie, with the home advantage. And I'm starting to think, as the weeks go by, Luton Town have a better chance of staying up. Each week, I'm starting to think there's something there. I think they're going to be borderline. I don't think they're going to survive comfortably, but if there's points deductions for the other team and Luton Town keep going about their business, they might get over the line. Like I say, though, Brighton won't make it easy, but I am just going to go with the home team. I'm going to go Luton 2, Brighton 1.
Yeah, I was really tempted to say the same, but Brighton just have a bit more about them. Luton have definitely found their feet and they are a much better team at home. They make it very, very difficult for teams. But I feel like Brighton just have that quality to get it over the line. So I'm going the same scoreline, but the other way. I'm going to say 2-1 Brighton.
Okay, you go for the Seagulls to get it over the line.
Yeah.
It's
it
difficult.
Could go either way, though, for me. I feel harsh going against Luton because I could easily back them as well, but I just feel like Brighton maybe pinching it is a little bit more realistic for me.
Yeah, I think given the fact they've both got a bit of positivity around them, given their FA Cup results, I'm glad we've gone either way on that one because it really could go either way. On to the next one then, Sophie, and the next game is at Selhurst Park, where Crystal Palace take on Sheffield United. Crystal Palace weren't in action at the weekend because they were already out of the FA Cup. Sheffield United have been knocked out of the FA Cup over the weekend. As we said, they lost 5-2 to Brighton. What I will say, Sophie, is I'm a little bit surprised by that result for Sheffield United because Chris Wilder has come in, and one thing I thought he'd do is make them tight and stop the goals going in. I didn't think by any means he's going to blast them up the table easily, but I thought he'd make them a bit more competitive and give them a slight chance.
Which I feel like he has in the league a little bit.
He has, yeah. And do you know what? If they were to get something here, they might find themselves not a million miles away from safety, given the fact as well there might be points deductions coming for teams just above the bottom three. They've still got a chance. Crystal Palace, on the other hand, Sophie, as we said, they lost 5-0 to Arsenal last time out in the Premier League. I don't think there'll be a lot between the two. With it being Roy Hodgson and Chris Wilder, it could be quite a boring game. Not to really discredit them, but I just think it could be cagey. Both teams trying to pinch a result, and I just wonder if the quality of Palace might just do it. I'm going to go for a scrappy 1-0 win to Crystal Palace.
Okay, I do see this being a scrappy one, but for me, Palace are just on a slippery slope right now. I don't know what's going to change. Could they be pointing things at the manager? Possibly. Don't know who they'd bring in though. I agree with what you said actually about Sheffield United. When Wilder came in, you thought, okay, he's going to stop the goals, he's going to make them a harder team to break down.
Yeah.
Which in the Prem he has, so maybe there are a few changes in the FA Cup, but I feel like it's going to be that same team that's going to be hard to break down in this one. For me, I'm going to back the Blades. 2-1.
Wow.
Yeah, which would be a massive 3 points.
That's crazy because you never back Sheffield United.
Yeah, I just got a feeling that they might do it this weekend.
Sheffield United fans, take it while it's here because Sophie never backs you to win. It's usually me who tries to back Sheffield United to win and I end up getting egg on my face. So maybe it'll be you this time, but we shall see. I think it will be close. Palace fans, Blades fans, do share your thoughts on that one. On to the next game then, Sophie, and we go to Villa Park, where it's Aston Villa versus Newcastle. Two big clubs that aren't considered to be in the Big Six, but over the last year or two, they've really broken it up. Newcastle got into the top four last season. Villa look like they're going to get in the top four this season. That said, Villa's form recently's not been terrible, but it's maybe not been to the same standard as the previous weeks. Maybe just a little drop in their consistency. As for Newcastle, they did beat Fulham last week in the FA Cup, despite me not thinking they played amazing, but they got the result over the line. This one, on the opening day, Sophie, finished 5-1 to Newcastle back in August. I don't think it's going to finish 5-1 to Newcastle, especially with it being at Villa Park. I am tempted to go for Aston Villa here, Sophie, but with Aston Villa's form maybe not being on the same levels recently, I can maybe just go for a draw.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm going to go for it.
Yeah.
Entertaining Desmond. 2-2.
Oh, okay. I'm going slightly less goals, but I do see it being a draw because I'm just struggling to separate the sides. Obviously, a few weeks back when Villa were absolutely flying at home, I wouldn't go against them.
No.
And I'm not going to say they're going to lose this one. Newcastle aren't a bad team. Obviously, they got a good result at the weekend. Wasn't the best performance, but it's a results business. Can they get a result here? I'm going to say no, but they walk away with a point, which isn't terrible either. So 1-1 for me.
1-1, yeah. Both go for a draw in that one, guys. Do share your thoughts on Aston Villa versus Newcastle. Big game. On to the next one then, Sophie, and we're going to go to the Etihad, where Manchester City take on Burnley. A Vincent Kompany derby, of course. This is going to be very difficult for Burnley, Sophie. They've got a chance of staying up, especially with the possibility of points deductions for other teams, but I've got to be honest, I had higher expectations coming into this season for Burnley.
I think everyone did, to be fair. It wasn't just us. I thought that they might just scrape survival, might play attractive football, because they did in the Championship, but they're getting found out in the Prem.
They are. They will be well rested because they haven't played for a little while. They didn't play in the FA Cup, and over the winter break they played in the first weekend, so it's been a little while since we've seen Burnley play. Whether they've had a really long rest or not, I still think it's a bit of a stretch to think they'd get anything at Man City. Yeah. That's not really an insult to Burnley because many teams struggle to get anything at Man City. I'm going to go for the same score that it was on the opening weekend. Man City 3-0.
Yeah, I'm going to say 4-0 Man City, just because they obviously have got a few players back. When it comes to not being rested for Man City, I don't think it's an issue at all because they've obviously got that depth there. They're very good. Got De Bruyne back, as we'd mentioned before. It's a difficult one because with Burnley, as I said, they were playing attractive football in the Championship. But have they got the quality to still do that in the Prem? No, and that's why they've been getting found out. And if they play that kind of open football against Man City, they'll get punished, and I can see it happening. So 4-0 for me.
4-0, yeah, getting a bit heavier than me. I could see that happening. Slightly, yeah. I could see that happening. On to the next one, Sophie. We've got a bit of a London derby here as we go to the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. Spurs take on Brentford, and this could be close, you know, Sophie. It was 2-2 on the opening weekend, and it was just before Spurs really got going. That draw was okay, and then they won loads of games in a row after that. They come into this one, Sophie, on the back of losing the FA Cup game to Man City, in which we did back Man City to win, and lots of Tottenham fans in the comments were saying they've never scored, never scored here, they've never won here. Well, they have now.
Yeah, exactly. Not to say I told you so, but I told you so.
As for this one though, Sophie, I think Tottenham will fancy their chances to get back to winning ways against a Brentford team that haven't had a great season, but maybe it's going to start getting better because they have got Ivan Toney back, and he did score, of course, that controversial free kick against Nottingham Forest. I'm going to go for Spurs to just edge it. I don't think it's going to be totally convincing, but I do think they will just get it over the line. I'm going to go Tottenham 2, Brentford 1.
Yeah, see, I feel like Spurs will be annoyed that they've gone out to Man City. Obviously, their record against Man City at home was good, and to go out last few minutes, it's heartbreaking. They've got a couple of players back now, obviously Maddison being one of their key ones. Brentford have Toney back, and they look a much better team with him in the side. But I still feel like Spurs, they're going to have their tails up for this one. They're going to want to bounce back from that, and they're going to do it for me. 3-1 Spurs.
Yeah,
a little bit more convincing.
Go for a few more goals. I like it. Yeah, share your thoughts on that with me, guys. Tottenham Hotspur versus Brentford. The next one, Sophie, is really interesting as we go to Anfield. Liverpool versus Chelsea. Now, we haven't actually spoke in a predictions video since Jurgen Klopp's announcement. You've got a real soft spot for Liverpool. You do like Liverpool. Yeah. What's your thoughts?
Well, I like Liverpool mainly because of Steven Gerrard, like a few people. And then when Klopp came in, he won me over as well. So 9 years of Jurgen Klopp. And for him to go, I get it, because he does look more tired, if that is the genuine reason, which seems genuine to me.
Yeah.
But it's big shoes to fill.
It certainly is. It certainly is. And I would really love Liverpool to win something this season in his final season.
Yeah, 100%.
They're in the Carabao Cup final, which is also against Chelsea, and I think they've got a good chance of winning the Premier League and maybe even a quadruple.
Yeah.
As for this one, Sophie, Liverpool did win 5-2 at the weekend against Norwich. Chelsea got a 0-0 draw against Aston Villa on the Friday. I am going to go for Liverpool. Liverpool are top of the league for a reason, Sophie, and I think they've got a real chance of winning it. I'm going to back them to get past Chelsea here, who... they're not totally terrible, by the way, Chelsea. I know I get quite a few Chelsea fans saying you never back us. On your day, you're pretty good, but you're just not consistent. Liverpool are more consistent. Liverpool 2-0.
Yeah, what I will say, I know they were playing against Middlesbrough, but Chelsea was so clinical in that game.
In that game, yeah.
Yeah, it was unreal. And that's been my issue with them this season, that they've had chances, but they've just either not taken them or not been clinical enough. So, could that be a turning point? Possibly. I did think they looked very, very good. Can they back it up with a result at Anfield? I'm going to say no, but they will get a goal. I'm going to say 2-1 Liverpool. But I feel like it's going to be a really good game. It could be a draw, but I am just going to back the home side.
Yeah, 2-1. Interesting. Share your thoughts, guys. Liverpool v Chelsea. Do Chelsea have a chance of getting anything, or do Liverpool continue this pretty good run that they're on? Share your thoughts down below. Only 2 games left, Sophie, and next up we go to the London Stadium where West Ham United take on AFC Bournemouth. I can't separate these two, Sophie. I'm going to dive straight in with a 1-1. Okay. I think this is going to be a draw. I'll tell you why. Bournemouth have been pretty good over recent times. I mean, they smashed Swansea in the first half of that FA Cup game, 5-0.
Yeah, I know.
Wow. As for West Ham, of course, they weren't in FA Cup action as they'd got knocked out by Bristol City previously. They have the home advantage. They have been pretty good so far this season, but there's still maybe 1 or 2 weaknesses with this team, and you know, some West Ham fans still not won over by David Moyes. I think this will be a draw, though. I just can't separate them. I think with West Ham being at home, I'm not going to say they'll lose, but Bournemouth, I don't think they're going to lose. I'm going to go down the middle, 1-1.
So I am going to pick a winner here, and it's going to be the Cherries. Again, they were playing against a team in the Championship, but to put the game to bed in one half is unreal, and to do it in that style as well.
Yeah.
So obviously their confidence is going to be high. West Ham, they're obviously not a bad team. I do like them, but I don't think they're actually hitting their potential, to be honest. And Bournemouth possibly overachieving. I don't know whether that's harsh to say. They're just doing very well, and a lot of people didn't expect them to do as well. And I feel like they're going to pick up the 3 points here, but a close game, 2-1.
2-1 to Bournemouth.
Yeah.
Wow. Share your thoughts on that one, guys. West Ham v Bournemouth is a big game, and Sophie is going for the Cherries on the road. The final game, Sophie, is at Molineux, and it's Wolves versus Manchester United. Now, I remember this one on the opening day. Manchester United won 1-0, but Wolves were the better team, and they should have had a penalty.
Yeah.
They should have had a penalty.
Yeah, they should have.
They both come into this on the back of a win on the Sunday in the FA Cup. Wolves will be full of confidence after winning the Black Country Derby. Now, I don't like to see violence, Sophie, of course, but that is what the Black Country Derby is like.
Yeah, I mean, that's a proper derby. You know when teams are like, oh yeah, we've got a derby, and they're all shaking hands. God, that was not that.
I tell you what, yeah, the Wolves and West Brom fans were going at it, and there was fans with blood streaming down their head. Not the prettiest of scenes, I must say, but on the pitch, Wolves got the job done. Now, they come into this game against Manchester United, who did beat Newport, but I'm still not won over by them, Sophie. I mean, they could have lost that.
Yeah, they could have, to be fair.
They blew a 2-goal lead, and then they did just about get it over the line in the end. But credit to Newport for giving it a go. I did say if you go at Man United, you can beat them. And I think Wolves can. I genuinely think Wolves can beat them.
Yeah.
They've beaten Man City at home. They've beaten Tottenham at home. They've beaten some really good teams at home. I reckon they're going to win this one. I'm going to go Wolves 2-1. I reckon Wolves will get the result over the line. And one thing I need to say to the Manchester United fans is, I know you're already going to be down in the comments saying you never back Man United to win. I do sometimes. I did back you to beat Newport, and
wow.
I think you'll lose this time. I have so much respect for the club and the fans, but the team I'm not a fan of. I don't think they're very good.
Right. Yeah, so for me, I felt like Wolves should have got a point first game of the season, and I feel like they will get a point here. They'll obviously be looking for the 3, and nothing's ruling them out getting the win. I can see why you've backed them. But Man United just have a way of getting something from a game, even if sometimes they don't deserve it. It's not the best season for them. And actually, Wolves, they're doing better than I thought they would. I thought they'd have a really poor season, but they're looking good. They're playing good football. And I think Neto's such a good player as well. No one really mentions him, but he's such a good player for them. And Kuna as well.
Yeah.
I am going to be boring and sit on the fence and say a 1-1, but I can totally see why you've backed Wolves.
I'm going to be honest, Sophie, if I was a Wolves fan, I'd be disappointed with the draw. I think this is really winnable.
Why? Because they're at home.
Yeah.
It is winnable.
Like I said,
but Man United can be really frustrating as well.
That's true. I think Man United, like you say, have the ability to play bad and still get a result.
Get something. You think, oh, they've done it.
So that's fair enough. I understand why you've done that. That wraps up our Premier League predictions, guys. As I say, we are glad to have 10 Premier League games to predict this time. Make sure to share your Premier League predictions down in the comments. It's free to comment down below, it's free to drop a like, and it is free to subscribe. Make sure to get involved as we push to 60,000 subscribers next. Thank you for joining me, Sophie.
Thank you.
We will see you in the next one. Peace out.